After watching all of Cobra Kai Season 4, I am super excited about Season 5. So let's talk about the release date and what we know about it so far. Welcome to Fantasy Films. If you're new here, I'm Kevin, and Season 5 is one that I cannot wait for. Cobra Kai Season 4 was absolutely amazing. It got more intense. There was more fighting. There was more character development than I think in most seasons in the past. The characters have gone through so many changes. They've gone through so many developments, revelations of their own, and many are coming into their own person, trying to figure out who they are, the direction they need to take, and what training and teachings are best for them. Now, Season 5, we're going to talk about this, the release date, and most of the stuff we're going to talk about is going to be spoilers for Season 4. So if you haven't seen all of Season 4, some of this information might give it away, so fair warning. Now, Season 5 has completed filming. Now, release date isn't exact, but they're saying it should be released sometime this summer. Now, to me, that sounds like a long ways out because I am very anxious to get this season started, considering the way the last season ended. And speaking of how the last season ended, this is where your spoilers are going to start. Terry Silver is taking over Cobra Kai, and not only taking it over, but expanding it, because now we're going to expect to see multiple different franchises of Cobra Kai spreading out all throughout the valley. This to me just means there's going to be bigger gang fights, more intensity between all the senseis and students, and things are just going to get really out of hand really fast. Multiple locations. I'm not sure how Daniel and Johnny are going to handle it. I mean, Johnny and Daniel had a lot on their plate when it came to one dojo and a class full of students, so I think Daniel and Johnny are going to need all the help they can get. Now, previously, Chozen is coming back and shown Daniel a side of Miyagi-Do that even he did not realize existed in a more, let's call it less lethal, but more offensive way to defeat your opponent. And at the end of Season 4, after Daniel is talking to Mr. Miyagi at his gravesite, then Chozen shows up in the scene letting us know that he's going to be teaching Daniel more Miyagi-Do that he didn't know before, probably more of those non-lethal yet more offensive teachings that he had previously learned that would incapacitate your opponent. And this is where it gets exciting for me, when two enemies are coming together who can learn from each other. That's kind of my appeal with Daniel and Johnny, and now we have Chozen in the picture, who's we know is more aggressive and extremely talented, and he even runs a Miyagi-Do dojo in Okinawa. Now, the producer had an interview on TV Line, and he had this to say about the Season 5 and Chozen coming back. We obviously know that Chozen come back into the fold, and Daniel, who we find at the ultimate depth of his loss, is feeling defeated and feeling like he made a deal with the devil. He realizes that to allow Miyagi-Do to be extinguished this way doesn't sit well. There are times where the fight has to change, and what better moment than for Chozen to come back into the story and to lean into the part of Miyagi-Do. Chozen is somebody who ties into the more aggressive past where fighting wasn't about a contest. It was about life or death. He still feels like he owes Daniel some help and wants to help to make amends, even though Daniel has forgiven him. From that alone, I feel like the audience can infer the energy with which Season 5 is going to begin. There are quite a bit of storylines that start spinning very fast and very aggressively as we enter the next season. So this is super exciting for me. I love Chozen's character. He still feels like he owes Daniel for sparing his life. And I've always wanted to see Daniel learn his style more. Ever since he gave him a taste of it, I wanted to learn more. I want Daniel to be a little more aggressive. I mean, the defensive style is great, but let's face it, there is a point in time for everything. Offensive, defensive, you got to get aggressive sometimes. We did learn that in Season 4, and I think a new style altogether is going to just put the icing on the cake for me. So let's touch on Anthony for a minute. This is Daniel's son, who ended up being a bit of a bully to the new kid, Kenny. So what happened is, after picking on this little kid, he decided to join Cobra Kai. He got really good in a very short amount of time and then started beating up and bullying on Anthony. While Anthony doesn't know karate, he doesn't really take to Dad's teachings too well. Daniel and Anthony really don't get along as good as, say, him and Sam do. But now that he's got in trouble and now he's got his own bully, Daniel's going to start trying to teach him karate in order to defend himself against Kenny and most likely the rest of Cobra Kai. Now, we also got to touch on Tory and Robbie. Now, Robbie, I feel like he was out on his own. He wasn't really Cobra Kai, even though he was with Cobra Kai, and he's definitely not Miyagi-Do, and he's kind of taking the teachings from both. And he said he had his own agenda. He was doing his own thing, using Cobra Kai to get to where he needed to be. It was an end game for him. But the thing is, he took Kenny under his wing to help defend himself against a bully, which then in turn made Kenny a bully, and that's not really what Robbie was looking to do. Once all this was said and done, at the end of season 4, Robbie went back to his dad, Johnny, kind of embraced him, telling him how nothing he had really planned out has worked, and he doesn't know where to go from here. Robbie's a little lost at the time, so we don't know where his character is going to go or what kind of changes he's going to go through. I don't know if he's going to end up leaving Cobra Kai because of this or stay a little longer and try to fix his mistakes with Kenny. Robbie is definitely at a pretty big crossroads, and I see some pretty big changes coming from him and also Tory. Tory is starting to go through this bit of evolution herself, and at the end of season 4, she did win the title of Women's All-Valley Champion, but then when she went back in to get her belongings from the locker room, she saw that Silver was paying off the ref, and that's how she won the match. So that kind of tainted her a little bit. Question is this going to push her to leave Cobra Kai and possibly join Miyagi-Do, or is she going to go on her own? There's a lot of questions here too. So I'm really anxious to see where Tory's character goes, because her character in the last season was going through so many different changes that it really excited me for her character more than I thought it would. Now, as far as Miguel is concerned, we all know he left at the end of the season to go find his biological father, whom doesn't even know Miguel exists, and Miguel doesn't even realize this. So if he does find his father, what's he going to say? Is he going to deny that he's even his son? How is Miguel going to convince him that he's his son? I mean, just because he goes, oh, well, you know my mom, that's not really proof that, you know, that's your son. So that interaction is probably going to make or break Miguel in ways that we haven't seen before as well. So when he returns home, if he returns home, I'll assume he will, what's his mentality going to be? How is his headset going to be? Or is he going to get in any trouble down in Mexico? I assume he's definitely going to get into a few fights while trying to find this guy. Since Mom did say he was a bad man, he's probably going to have to find himself in some questionable predicaments. And of course, if he does find himself in those predicaments, Johnny Lawrence is on his way to Mexico to help him out. So I'm sure he's going to pull him out of a few of those predicaments and even return him to his mom in time to save Miyagi-Do, hopefully. Now, there's one more issue we got to talk about coming up to season 5, and that is Kreese himself. Now, we know Kreese was framed for the assault on Stingray by Terry Silver. And what's funny about this is I think the only person able to save Kreese from these assault charges and jail time is going to be Johnny Lawrence himself. He's the only one close enough to Kreese to find out what's going on to get him out. And he was more that father type. So Johnny's probably the only one that's going to be even slightly sympathetic to Kreese. You know Dana would let him sit in there and rot. But Kreese might be the key here to taking down Terry Silver. Because now that tear in the relationship between Kreese and Silver is going to want Kreese to get ultimate revenge. And what other revenge than taking down all the other franchises that Silver is putting up in Kreese's absence. Now, what I think is going to happen, and this is just an epiphany for me, Kreese is going to get out. He's going to help Johnny take down Silver only for the fact that he believes that Cobra Kai is his. Cobra Kai is his baby, not Terry Silver's. So if Terry's taking it over, framed him for jail now, Terry is enemy number 1. And it's going to kill Kreese to have to team up with Daniel. And Daniel is definitely not going to feel very interested to team up with Kreese because he doesn't trust him. Well, let's be honest, nobody trusts Kreese. But I think in the essence of taking down Cobra Kai, or in Kreese's thoughts, taking down Silver, he'll do whatever he has to do. But obviously, we're going to have to wait and see how all this turns out in Season 5, hopefully coming up this summer. But leave your comments down below what we covered here on Season 5. What do you think is true? What do you think is going to happen? What were your thoughts on the ending of Season 4? Do me a favor, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed the content. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And the bell notification so you know when all the new videos drop. I'm Kevin, and I'll see you at the concession stands.